But I think that there are a couple things to think about if we want to place our faith in the FDA doing things in an expeditious way. The recent controversy over the EpiPen costing $600. Well, there's been a generic out there that applied in 2009. So 7 years later, we haven't gotten an approval, and it's over, I think, frivolous sort of complaints. Basically, it injects the drug, it injects the right dose, it works, and yet the FDA is saying, well, it's not identical to the EpiPen device. And so for technical reasons, it's being held up. At least that's what I've heard in the press. 7 years. So I think we shouldn't place a lot of faith in some sort of expeditious process. In fact, I think the whole FDA process needs to be overhauled, not just for people who are terminally ill, but for everything. We do a miserable job at the length of term of trying to approve drugs in our country. So if we're going to wait back and say, oh, well, everything's just swimmingly well, just be patient, I think that's a big mistake. I think the biggest part of the debate here, though, is over whether the compassionate use program works. And I think that needs to continue to be driven home, whether it works or doesn't work. And I've learned a lot today about whether it works or doesn't work. I think the fact that we have patients calling drug companies and they are not eligible but not showing up in any statistic. It's not measurable maybe how large the number of patients that are ineligible. My political director, sister has pulmonary fibrosis. Her drug is not approved here. She actually is in a clinical trial because she lives in New York. But if she lived in Bowling Green, Kentucky, my guess is it's going to be a little bit harder to get into one of these trials because we don't have a major university. But the drug she's using in her trial has been on the market for 10 years in Japan. Why in the world do we not use drugs that have been on the market to the general public? So a phase 3 trial might have 1,000 patients. How many people live in Japan? 100 million people? It's a rare disease, but maybe there are 10,000 people in Japan using the drug. Why are we not using that data? We give the FDA the option to use the data, but they choose not to. So, and this is the problem. We come to this legislation, it comes forward, and I'll try to put a word in that the FDA should or shall do this, and everybody will say, well, let's just give them the option of using it. Let's trust the FDA to do the right thing. Well, no, the FDA does what they've always done, and that is slow ball and slow roll things. And so we have instance after instance. We don't have like thousands of instances of the FDA saying, you know, we got it done. We have thousands of instances of it taking 5 and 10 years. But we also have to look at the whole FDA process. EpiPen's got a 38-year patent. Why in the world would we do that? They tweak their patent on the device. Okay, it delivers it slightly faster, quicker, different. The needle's slightly longer. We give them another 10 years. The EpiPen is 38 years. They got the approval in 1987. The injector was actually approved in the 70s. And their patent's not going to run out till 2025. The other thing I've learned today or has reinforced for me is, you know, Matthew talking about the individualization of treatment. We may be entering into an age, if we're not already there, that we're never going to have 1,000 people get the same treatment because it's going to be individualized to his exact genetic disorder. If it's you know, some gene that is wrong in his body, maybe the treatment is going to be specific to him. There's never going to be 1,000. But ultimately, the way I look at this issue is, look, we live in a free country. My goodness, shouldn't people be free to try? And will it always work? No. But I mean, ultimately, if you have ALS, my guess is you also want trials to go on. It's not like you're against trials to go on to see what actually works. But if we prevent the trials and we prevent people from trying, we'll never know. So I commend the chairman for putting this forward and wish you the best of success.
Thanks, Senator Paul.